it's Rose. I'm here to kind of, won't be the very last video on the Lapbook, but I'm going to put all of the pieces together and do the signatures today in this video. And I'm going to talk a little bit about paper selection, about just some of the basics. So if you're a veteran and you're just looking for the ideas, it's okay to kind of fast forward to there. I just want to take a minute to kind of address some of the things along the way, some of the questions I've been getting, and make sure that we have all the new people to stay up with us. And so if I miss something that you've asked and you need more information, please feel free to leave a comment and I will take time to answer it. So let's talk paper very quickly and printing. Okay, I have a Canon. It's an Echo Tank and it was $280. I've had it for 2.5 years. I got it after I replaced my Epson Echo Tank that was considerably more, which lasted me for 2 years, which I happened to replace another Epson that was also an Echo Tank that was $1,400 many years ago. So what's happening is that about essentially the same technology is being able to be presented at a lower price. And yes, $280 seems to be, a considerable chunk when you're looking at a hobby. I'm just sharing with you the way I do it, and there are so many ways to put together these journals and so many different ways to even use the digitals. I'm sharing because people asked. That's where my initial cost goes in, okay? Because I print probably 300 pages a month, and it doesn't cost me very much to do so. Probably one thing of ink, about $20, and then the paper. So I invest higher in the printer, and then I also invest in quality paper. And the paper feels really important to me because the journals and stuff that I worked on a couple of years ago, when I didn't pay so much attention to which glue I used, which paper, doesn't quite look as nice and hasn't held up, even though it's been sitting on a shelf. And when I pour my heart into something, I really would like it to hold up and to look nice. So I print most every paper that is a ephemera, unless it takes a lot of folds. But things that are like tags or ephemera cards, anything that might be like a journal card, a library card, bits of ephemera like a property card or things like that, they get the thicker Epson Premium. Okay, it happens to be 48 pound. Okay, let's see if you can see that there. Okay, I'm in the US, so I'm using the US size, and it's double-sided, so that's the other part that's important. Double-sided premium presentation paper mat, and it's fairly significant in its strength. It also makes really, for me, almost prefer this for all of my pages in my journal, because if I'm going to be attaching anything to the page, if what I'm attaching has any weight to it, it doesn't seem to buckle under it the way it does with copy paper. So I really encourage you to consider how you shift your budget that way. I'm not a girl that invests heavily in spending my time collecting ephemera and things like that, and I want to acknowledge that is a whole part of this journey. If you're doing junk journaling, what I do is more art journaling, and I see the images because I can create them. I see them and I can create them with the computer to look the way I would have spent a lot of time kind of manipulating something. That doesn't mean that it's less artistic. It's just I also have been nomadic for a very long time and not had the space or the financial resource to continue to constantly purchase things that I had to sort through that I could never find when I wanted to. So that was my thought process. I use this paper here, and this is kind of a new one for me, but it's by Koala, And I really love this paper. It's pretty basic. It has the same print quality, but the thinness is about the quality of copy paper. Let's see. It's presentation paper, double-sided for inkjet printer. You get about twice as many pages as you do on the Epson, and it's a lot thinner. So it would work well for the pages, although because it's not quite as thick, you have to be very mindful of not adding too many heavy things to your pages. Where this really is a hero is on things like envelopes or anything that takes a lot of folding, particularly envelopes. Some journal pages, I actually really... Well, my battery died in the middle of that. I'm sorry. Anyways, I wanted to let you know you can use this for envelopes or any folded ephemera and the covers. I love that for the covers. It gives a bright quality color, but since the covers fold over the edges there, and they're meant to fold in a couple different places, they're great for that too. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is you'll notice that I think it's the week 1 freebies has a couple of different spines in it, and I'm going to be making a spine here. Okay, and showing you how to do that. That's the very first thing I'm going to do. So I cut out my spine template, and I'm going to talk to you now about signatures. So the way I feel about signatures, there's a whole video on paper and signature selection that I've done. I can put the link in the comment box below, or even better, if you're interested in it, comment and I'll send you the link there. So what I wanted to do was make sure that I had started with an image from the kit that I really loved. And I'm just doing 2 signatures and I don't have a lot of room for journals, so that one will be my center showcase for signature number 1. And then this one is going to be my center signature on number 2. Notice how they kind of match. Okay, they're from the same kit, the English Garden Estate. And that will be the center. Okay, so I've got 2, let's build these together. 2 piles here, and I'll start with the center one. And the next thing I'm going to do is, generally, I won't have another photo piece or a large focal point piece right afterwards. I'll go for something that would be considered more neutral, and I'll do a couple of pages of those. So, and often it's the pattern paper, so I'll use that one. And maybe that one. I've got plenty to choose from what I printed up. No, it's this one. So I basically build them in a very similar way. That's just my preference. It doesn't mean that's how it has to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in here the paper terrace. So I'll put one of those and one of those over here. So now I'm at 3. I'm aiming for 8 pages. Probably now I want to address the next picture ones. And I wanted to show you, I make a ton of mistakes when I print sometimes. And what I did is on both of these, I printed the wrong way, the wrong side on the wrong orientation. So it made both papers unusable double-sided. So it's also something I often do anyway with images like this. What I'm going to do actually, okay, is I've put them together and then I've chosen a place for it to be a pocket. Okay, so I'm just going to make it a double-sided pocket in a place where I can place larger items in my journal. Notice I notched the side. There's plenty of ways to address it. You can just put it in upside down and then cover up something that that you know, with a different paper on the top. That's another solution, but this is my solution for this one here. So this is where my opening is here. So and you can see now I just have a pocket, and it's kind of hard to tell that it's 2 pages, but it's there. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side, but I'm going to probably leave it open like this because, oh, nope, looks like I'm not, because I did cut a notch in this one. See where I did? Okay, so because it's opening here, I'm going to add my glue. Side. So another thing that's nice to do is make sure your edges are inked before you actually place your pages into the signature for binding. So notice I'm going to get the edges really well and kind of get it the way I want it to look. I would like to have rounded corners. I'm going to be consistent throughout the kit. All of the pages will get the same diameter, or the same measurement as a corner. So I'm just going to cut those off really quick. And these are things where I might put like a quote, or it could even be hidden by adding something over the top, you know, as a hidden something under a flap. But because this is Lady Rose, I wanted to include Lady Rose, and this is Sanzio. And so that will go next into the journal here, and it's not quite the same size. It's a little bit smaller. I cut it down. I'm going to do the same thing here with this one. It's got here a notch and here a notch. Okay, so on this one, because one of them was only printed on one side, I am going to just add a little bit here so that you don't just see the white area. And I'll get that straight by just adding enough glue. Now, just like that. Okay. So now we're at, I think, 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 pages. And I'm just going to go with continued blank pages and I really like the pattern papers, so I think I'll stick with those more than I like some of the other pages. And so that's 5 and 6. And I'm probably going to do a pattern paper that makes 7. So we'll do 6 and 7. And just one more now. I think I may do a picture just for the outside. So remember, this is the outside of the journal. Maybe I'll use that one. Now you just want to face them the way that you want. So what I'm going to do is face them off camera, and then I'm going to ink them and probably do some punching of my corners. My signatures are complete in the design of them. Now I'm just going to get some thread and a needle and a pokey tool. So there's some thread and a pokey tool, and maybe even another. Let's see. I've got clipped these here as close as I can, right? So that I folded this, and I want to be able to keep these as close together as I can. Okay, so I've poked my holes here where these are folded, right? So just got that folded in 3, just to recap here. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is use this as a template. I'm going to fold this here, right down where the line is, and place this in to the center here and make sure that it's even on both sides. And then I'm going to push through down at the template all the way through the holes to the other side. So each time like this, right? And like this. Okay, I'm gonna do that for both signatures. And then what I have is a hole coming through here and coming out in the center. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to be able to strengthen my spine a little bit before I use it. I've added binding tape to each of my seams here to strengthen the open and close mechanism, and I also want to add that here on the back side of my spine. I want to do this because I'm going to be poking holes through it, and because I would like to have it be strong enough to hold the weight of those 2 signatures. So I'm going to do that. And then, because this is not to be seen, we want to make sure that it's the right height before. So I'm going to want to have it be a little bit shorter too. So I'm actually probably going to trim it here and here. So that I can clearly see what's happening. I want to get the paper that I'm going to be using to cover my spot here first. And let's see, I want to measure this, and it looks like it's just slightly too tall. Okay, before I dive into working with it, I just want to make sure that I know about where the center is. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a mark. It's not imperative, but it's helpful to kind of know where that is. And because I'm going to be seeing this part and this part, I am going to ink it. So here, this is the part that will be visible to everything, to everyone. What I want to do now, knowing that I have this and this, I'm going to center this on this side here. Okay. And I'm going to glue it down with some Fabri-Tac. So you don't have to use this craft paper. You could use masking tape, but I really love this craft paper because it seems to strengthen everything in places where I hadn't thought of it needing a little bit of strength before. And over time, like I said, the opening and closing, I tend to really prefer, you know, especially when I worked on something for a long time, I like it to look nice. Afterwards, it's been disappointing to go to something sitting on the shelf to open it up and it doesn't have the same, it didn't retain its shape the same way. So, here we go. Let's get this in view better. So now I've added the glue and I'm just going to press this down and make sure that it's centered between the top and the bottom, okay? And press that down. Now what I need to do is just going to choose my needle, and the places that I poked through on my signatures, I'm going to also poke through on my spine. Oops. And I'm just using the needle because it's a tiny little bit smaller hole, and this is smaller. It's not as thick that it has to go through, but it also makes it a little bit more challenging to see, and I want to make sure that I'm able to see where those are. My eyesight is really shifted once I turned 50, so I'm sure you guys, some of you can relate. And then what I'm going to do is get my string. I'm going to move the cover out of the way now, and we'll come back to the cover once I have the signatures sewn in. Okay, so this used to be the most intimidating part of making a journal because it was like more of the construction part, but it's actually something that I've come to really love. So I encourage you, sometimes it's the best thing to do is to do it very first before you do anything, and maybe not so much with this Lapbook, but it's often one of the first things I do of the journal because it's the thing that I so thread my needle, and what I want to do is I'm going to go at least, it's a lot longer than you need to, but it's going to be double. Not everyone does double, but I'm going to make sure that I got 4 lengths there. Maybe a little more, because it's always better to have more, not less thread. I'm not tying a knot. I'm just, okay. And now I'm coming from this side. I'm going to sew from this side. This is the one that goes in the front, and we'll start there with that one. I'm going to want to hide my thread here. So what I'm going to do is come from this side here, down through the center, and then through this center hole. Okay. To get right straight. It can be, oops, a little challenging. Okay. So through that hole, make sure that this point I leave it right about what I need. And for me, it's useful because often I can pull through in my maneuvering. Just give myself a little bit of extra room and just put a little bit of tape there so that I don't accidentally pull it through in my maneuvering. Not necessary, but it's just something that I do. Okay, and then so up from the top, down from the top or bottom. Okay, pull that tight and down through this hole. Let's see where we're at now. I like to go back down through the center. And then through the top. And through that side. And so you can see now I'm ready to tie this, and I have plenty of thread. That was plenty. So just going to tie this in a double knot. Okay. Add just a tiny little bit of glue on it. Even use the little piece that you used to hold the thread in place, and I'm just going to place it over it just for prevention sake. And I'm going to thread my other needle then and do the same thing there. Hopefully I won't have to show you there on that one. Okay, so now I've got those sewn in. I'm going to remove my clips. Just want to verify at this point that things are kind of straight, so they're not quite as straight as I would have liked, but it's okay. They're pretty tight in there, so that's good. I'm happy. Okay, here's the next step here, where I'm going to glue this in. And so what I need to do is apply glue very liberally. First, I'm just going to do it over this spine area. Not all the way to the edges, but, you know, to the spine first. And then I'm going to move outwards. This is less important to be completely covered. I do want to get the edges and maybe less light there. Apologize, I have my window open. I wasn't able to afford to fix my AC this summer, and so I have been regulating my very hot Utah weather with my windows open and my fan. So I'm sorry about the noise. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to place this in. So if I put my signatures like this, it's easy for me to kind of tell where it goes, and I want to center it. I'm going to center it on the spine, on the top and on the bottom. Okay, and then just going to press that in. And grab my bone folder at this point in time and really press in the areas that need to be, let's see, use this one instead. No, just along here, in between the spines. This room here will allow me to build up the pages a little bit more. And like this. And now my signatures are in place. And then what I'm going to do also is press in where it folds. So helping the crease a little bit. Not enough to break the paper, but just enough to define the fold, where the fold is. Beautiful. So there we go. So I have this space to decorate, and then I have this space and this space. And I'm going to go ahead and cover it, and that way, oh, right, I forgot the space too. There's quite a bit in the Lapbook to think about adding stuff to. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm just going to cover this, and that way, at the very end, not of this video, you'll be able to kind of see, I'll put a few things in place, but I won't do the final reveal of the way that my layout is until maybe I even do the reveal of the whole kit, because, or the whole Lapbook, because I really feel like I would like to let you guys be as creative as you possibly can. So this is probably going to have to be vertical papers all the way around. So I'm going to do the same thing here. What I'm going to do is cut this piece first, and then I'll cut the two separate pieces. So I'm going to cut my pieces and show you how I cut them after I cut them. Okay, I definitely don't ever want to make a seam here. Tends to reinforce the seam. So I cut this one here, just a little bit past the seam. And I'm going to add the center glue first. I'll add the glue here. Take your time and use your bone folder to press it in, to kind of notice where the folds are, to press into the fold. This was a little bit close to the fold. Okay. So this next piece here, I'm just going to come over into this just a little bit. So just going to mark it where I want it. And I'm coming fairly close here to the signature here. Just your choice. And this one, probably right like. I'm just going to cut them after I've marked them here. So add glue here. The edges are really important. That's where they can get kind of caught. And sometimes as I'm working on the journal, before it's finished, I'll have to find little places where it's come up a little bit and I add more glue. So you kind of want to watch that as you're working with your project. Take it as an opportunity every time you handle it to see if there's some place that you could possibly add more glue or seal it up so that it's just a little bit more tight. And we're just matching edges here. Adding glue. Getting closer. Got the last flap here. Let's see how I did. Okay, so I'm gonna have to trim this just a little bit on the width. Okay, I've inked the edges too, and now I'm just going to add my glue. Work with the fold here. Just push it it in. Okay, so what we've got now is we've got plenty of room here. You can see now where I'm going to spend just a little bit of time to kind of work with my corners again. Anywhere that is coming up just a little bit, it's helpful to spend just a little bit of time at that point to take care of your edges. And the other thing I want to mention to you is that I noticed that I might not have given myself enough room. I wanted to let that dry. I might not have given myself quite enough room to, on these here, as I started to fill the journal, there's not a lot of room, so it might be better suited, I'm not sure, to try 2 there if you haven't done yours already. And the one thing I wanted to do with the scrap papers that I have to make them going inside and out more acceptable. So I'm just going to add a little bit of paper here and here. Okay, so I've glued those in, and I'm going to add a strip here too. That should make it slide just a little bit easier, and you can see it's not going to take a lot for this to get filled up, and I probably won't put this in that journal there. I also noticed that I would like my spines to match, so the next time you see this baby, I will have covered this one with the same type of spine. Okay, so now the next thing I would just want to show you, folding that was just a little bit premature, catching that edge. This needs a tab, so I need to do that. I'm not going to do that on camera. I am going to place this pocket here, and I think I will use strip tape. So I'm going to do that for strength, and I'm using the wider tape also. A couple of places where I am just over the edge. You can see that. I'm just going to trim it before I put it down. Because I don't want to see that. And then place. I've got a pocket, and I thought I was put this one here, this one I'm going to use the thinner tape, Okay. So you might have wondered, some of the pieces, they're the same width here. I created some of the backs so that what they were two parts. You know how sometimes you have like put like pens in one and then it stuffs in there. So that's what that's meant to do, is to create a little pocket that's its own floating pocket that will stuff in something. I'm going to use, again, the strip tape to create that. So it would look like that, and then maybe put some pins in there. But you'll have to wait and see for the reveal. I think I'm going to put those pockets there. For now, I'm going to say thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. And I haven't stuffed this either, so you'll see that in the end. But you get a good idea here of what's happening. So, right. This is what it looks like from the top. You'll note that this pocket can't be stuffed too much because these come this way. So I'm just going to put a few things in that pocket there. Okay. But now I can work on this signature here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Rose. I hope to see you again soon. Oh, and if you're curious about what's happening for the rest of the year, I have it planned, and I have put little advertisements on my coffee site. Tells you what the kit will be in August, what the kit will be in September, October, November, and December. It's got the color swatches. If you feel like you'd like to join us, we'd love it. I would especially love the support of a membership. It's probably going to be the best deal moving forward because things will shift just a little bit. I've been learning a lot creating this way. So I'm going to shift things just a little bit more so that I can spend more time on the tutorial part. I really feel like that is, I'm being told, is helpful. So I hope you're going to understand if there's fewer pages overall, and some of my hours go towards teaching instead of creating freebies that may create more confusion. So if that sounds good to you, let me know, because that's the feedback I'm getting for me to spend more hours on the tutorials and a little bit less on creating more content. The content can be a little bit overwhelming. So I hope to see you soon in the next video. Thank you so much. I'm Rose.